Hello, Mzansi. Welcome to it as Hollywood Best once again brings you another smashing episode of Game On. I am Sizwe and let's start off this week's show by congratulating the champions of Southern African football once again, Mamelodi Sundowns. What a season it has been. In fact, what a run over the last 10. It has been the most successful side in South African football. We'll break that down with Jerry Skosana later on. But right now, sitting alongside Shane McGregor. And Shane, let's talk about Sundowns, their dominance and overall contribution to South African football over the years.
Yeah, brilliant. Eighth title in a row. So it just shows you how dominant they have been. We spoke about them earlier in the season when we went through a bad patch. We said they'll bounce back, and they did, Brilliant. But you forgot about Kaizer Chiefs, also won a trophy,
Let's also take our hats off to Kaizer Chiefs as well, from a Chiefs legend here, reminding us the Chiefs are the Nedbank Cup champions, a drought coming to an end, quite importantly for Chiefs as well. Important time, this in the story of Kaizer Chiefs overall.
Sorry, but I think I don't know if it's a blessing in disguise or what it is, but we'll see what happens from them going forward.
Well, certainly we'll see. But let's talk about what's happening out in England, and exciting times in England. We've talked about the race at the top. That's now a done deal, but there's still the scramble for places in the European spots, and this goes beyond Champions League as well, when you look at the Europa League and Conference and so on. But it's not just number 3 to number 7 or 8 that's in question here. It's number 2, including Arsenal, that's in the scramble for places out in England.
Yeah, can you believe it? We'll say that they're struggling for that second spot. It's been one of those seasons for Arsenal again. But at the end of the day, you know what? They're going to end up in second or third. It doesn't matter. They still make Champions League. But having said that, there's going to be 5 or 6 teams from the Premier League in Champions League, and it just shows you how well and how big the league has grown and how good they are playing and participating.
Well, that is the thing with Arsenal. They have to make it within the top 5 to secure a place in the Champions League. But who would have thought, when you say 5 or 6, for those at home that don't know, Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur could still make it to the Champions League next season, because they've still got a final play out in Europe. Who would have thought? The 2 sides that maybe have dropped the most from last season still have a chance.
But can you imagine being an Arsenal fan? 1-0 again this year, and then you get Man United and Tottenham, who have been shocking the whole season,
in the final,
won a trophy.
Crystal Palace is in the final.
Exactly. Can you imagine that? So it's all part and parcel of it. That just shows you how the game is and what happens. The fine line between winning something and not winning anything. But you know what? Good luck to all the teams involved, and it's going to be brilliant for British football, especially the Champions League. But having said that, next season is going to be difficult for some teams because of that they get the extra games.
So the likes of Nottingham Forest, Newcastle United, Chelsea, all in the talking point. Of course, Aston Villa as to what will happen in the scramble for places now at the end of the season. Let's talk about games that will be coming up that will be crucial in this regard. Firstly, West Ham up against Nottingham Forest. Forest have come a bit unstuck of late, struggling for form, need to pick it up, and if they are to get into the Champions League, need to get the turnaround sooner rather than later.
Yeah, West Ham have been up and down the whole season, They get results and then they go play badly. I think Forest will bounce back, get a result. They've had time to recover, get the legs going again. I think they're going to be too good for West Ham. West Ham have had a dismal season, so... but they do surprise on the odd occasion, but for me it's going to be a Forest victory.
Big question at times is, what type of Arsenal are you going to get these days? Especially now with the situation being in the overall picture where we said they were splitting their attention between the league and Europe. They're up against the Newcastle United side that's also amongst those in the talking points in the scramble for places out in Europe. This, for me, the game of the weekend.
Definitely the game of the weekend, This is going to define Arsenal's season, whether they end up second or not. Newcastle have hit form at the right time, come right at the right time, winning games. Difficult one to call, I'm going to go for the draw on this one, but I'm going to be leaning towards Newcastle.
I have to ask you about Brentford and Fulham. Just because Fulham have been that side that's also stood their ground well this season, and they've been difficult to play against, but here they are playing away at Brentford.
That's the difference. Brentford at home. Brentford at home are a different team than away from home. Fulham have done well. They've taken a few scalps this season, but especially at home. Away from home at Brentford, I just feel Brentford will be geared up for this game, especially at home. So I think I'll go Brentford win.
We spoke about Palace being the big big improved side this season. They, of course, aren't playing in the league. They've got the final to look forward to against City. Talk about the turnaround at Palace this season. From being amongst those at the bottom in the opening few months to the season they've had and the ending to the season they're having right now.
Well, brilliant for them, because they did struggle in the beginning and they seem to have turned it around. They're getting the results in a cup final. Brilliant for them. Whether they can get the final, get across the line, I'm not too sure. But it is a cup final. We've got to remember that.
And a possible spot in Europe as well.
Yeah, anything happens in a cup final.
Yep.
So, but you look at Man City, for some of their players, like Swang Son for them, are they going to go out with a bang? I think they're going to win it and just put that dagger further in Arsenal's back. Another team to win a trophy.
So Palace up against Wolves, City up against Bournemouth. This is on Tuesday next week.
Yeah, and also again, City will come out and get the results. They have to. It's as simple as that. It depends on what happens in the cup final. No celebrations if they do win. Yeah. Straight into it. But they should get the job done there.
And the small matter of Brighton at home against Liverpool on Monday is a game to look forward to as well.
You're going to look at me like a mad, and I'm a big Liverpool supporter.
Yep.
I think that Brighton are going to get something out of this game. I just feel that they got more to play for. They want to prove a point. Can you imagine going out and playing against the champions? How much, what motivation that is. So, for me,
also the guard of honor in the beginning.
Yeah, I think if anything a draw, but I'll be watching Brighton very closely in that one if I was a betting man.
Now, let's talk English football. The force that is English football. Chance of 6 teams in the Champions League. Yeah. Where does this come from, and what does this tell us about English football? Looking at the last 5 or so years, the influence has come in with guys like Pep and so on. But also teams like Villa coming out of nowhere and making a good competitive league of this, Newcastle as well. What does this tell us about English football as a force overall in Europe? Well,
it just shows you how strong the league really is. If you've got no easy games, the bottom teams can beat you. Look, the 3 bottom teams struggled this season, but the gap with the others isn't vast, and that's the big difference. If you go to other teams in Europe, you go to German league, you go to the Italian league, you go to Spanish league, there's 3 or 4 teams only in that, and the rest are the strugglers, But in English league, at any given time, any one of those teams can beat the top team.
And the reason why we love English football in what is arguably the most watched league in the world. So we take our hats off to those that are doing well, and thank the English for ensuring that there's so many talking points still. Even if Liverpool haven't been crowned champions, there's still so many reasons to keep watching the game out in England. We take a short break, and Shane will take a short break. When you come back, it's Jerry. Shane will be back later on to break down the German game.